I wake to the smell of antiseptic and the rhythmic beeping that can only mean one thing: hospital. My eyelids feel weighted, like someone's glued them shut. When I finally pry them open, fluorescent lights stab my retinas, and I wince. "She's awake." A nurse's voice, too cheerful for whatever the hell is happening. I try to speak, but my throat feels like I've swallowed sandpaper. A straw touches my lips, and I sip greedily, the lukewarm water a small mercy. "Chandler," I manage to croak. "Where's Chandler?" The nurse's smile falters for just a second. "I'll page the doctor." That's not an answer. My heart rate spikes, and the machine beside me betrays my panic with faster beeps. I try to sit up, but pain shoots through my ribs, pinning me back against the pillow. "What happened?" I ask, but the nurse has already disappeared. Fragments of memory flash through my mind. Rain-slicked roads, headlights, the screech of tires, my hands gripping the steering wheel so tight my knuckles turned white. The doctor arrives, clipboard in hand, expression professionally neutral. "Ms. Reynolds, Scarlett, you've been in an accident." "How long?" My voice sounds foreign to my own ears. 3 days. You have 3 fractured ribs, a concussion, and required 20 stitches across your forehead and left arm. My hand flies to my face, feeling the rough texture of bandages. "The scarring will be minimal," he assures me, misreading my concern. "My fiancé," I say, more urgently now. "Chandler Lowe, has he been here?" The doctor's eyes flick to the nurse, a silent exchange I can't decipher. "I'll check with reception," he says, which I know is bullshit. If Chandler had been here, they'd know. "And Peyton? Peyton Brooks?" I ask, my voice cracking. My best friend since college. My maid of honor. The person who should be sitting vigil beside my bed. "I'm not sure," the doctor says carefully. "You've had no visitors recorded except for a Simon Harding yesterday afternoon." "Simon? My coworker? We're friendly enough, but nowhere close enough for hospital visits. Something's wrong. Terribly wrong." "My phone," I say, looking around the sterile room. "I need my phone." The nurse retrieves a plastic bag from a drawer. "Your personal effects. The phone was damaged in the accident, but it still turns on." My hands shake as I dig through the bag, past my blood-stained blouse and the shattered face of my watch, frozen at 9:17 p.m. The screen of my phone is cracked, but it lights up when I press the power button. 64 notifications, but none from Chandler. None from Peyton. I open my messages first. Coworkers sending well wishes. My dentist reminding me about an appointment I've obviously missed. My mother saying she'll visit tomorrow. Nothing from the 2 people who matter most. With growing dread, I open Instagram. And there it is, at the top of my feed, posted yesterday. A photo of Chandler and Peyton, together. His arm around her waist, her hand resting on his chest, a diamond ring catching the light. Their faces glowing with a happiness I recognize. The same happiness I felt when Chandler proposed to me 3 months ago. The caption reads, "When you know, you know. Couldn't wait any longer to make it official. Engaged, the loves." The room tilts. The beeping accelerates. I can't breathe. "Ms. Reynolds?" The nurse's voice sounds distant. "Your heart rate is elevated. I need you to try to calm down." Calm down? My fiancé and best friend just announced their engagement while I lay unconscious in a hospital bed. I scroll frantically through the comments. Congratulations from mutual friends. People I thought were my friends. Hearts and champagne emojis. No mention of me. It's like I've been erased. "How long have they been together?" I whisper, not really asking the nurse, just needing to say the words aloud. I keep scrolling, back through Peyton's feed. There they are again, 2 weeks ago, at a restaurant I recognize. Our restaurant, where Chandler and I had our first date. Another photo from a month ago, captioned only with a heart. How did I miss this? How long has this betrayal been happening right under my nose? My thumb hovers over Chandler's contact. I should call him. Scream, demand answers. But something stops me. A coldness settles in my chest, replacing the initial shock with something harder, sharper. I set the phone down and stare at the ceiling, counting the tiles as my breathing steadies. The beeping slows. "Are you all right?" the nurse asks cautiously. "I'm fine," I lie, my voice steadier than I feel. "Just processing." She nods, clearly relieved I'm not having a breakdown on her watch. But inside, something fundamental has shifted. The Scarlett who drove in the rain 3 nights ago, trusting, loving Scarlett, is gone. In her place is someone new, someone who wants answers, someone who wants justice. As I lie there, a memory surfaces. Peyton helping me choose my wedding dress just 2 weeks ago, tears in her eyes as she hugged me and said, "You deserve all the happiness in the world, Scar." All the while, she was sleeping with my fiancé. I close my eyes, but sleep doesn't come. Instead, I see their faces, laughing, loving, betraying. And beneath my hospital gown, my heart hardens into something unrecognizable. They discharge me the next morning with a bottle of painkillers and aftercare instructions I barely hear. My mother arrives to drive me home, her face pinched with concern that feels like an act now. Did she know? Was everyone laughing behind my back? "Honey, you should have called me sooner," she fusses, helping me into her car despite my resistance. "I had to hear about your accident from Simon at your office." "Did you see the announcement?" I ask, my voice flat. Her hands freeze on the seatbelt. "What announcement?" I pull out my phone and show her the Instagram post. Her eyes widen, then dart away too quickly. "You knew," I say. Not a question. "Scarlett, please. You need to rest. We can discuss this when I'm what, Mom? When I'm less embarrassed? Less devastated? When exactly is the right time to discuss my fiancé fucking my best friend?" She flinches at my language but doesn't deny anything. The silence in the car is confirmation enough. "Take me to my apartment," I say, turning to stare out the window. "I don't think you should be alone right now." I've apparently been alone for quite some time. My voice cracks, betraying me. I just didn't know it. The drive is silent after that. When we arrive, I insist on going up alone. My mother protests, but eventually relents, promising to check on me tomorrow. I don't bother responding. My apartment feels both familiar and foreign, like returning to a place you lived in childhood. Everything is exactly where I left it. The half-empty coffee mug on the counter, mail stacked neatly by the door, the dress I'd planned to wear to dinner that night draped over a chair. Evidence of a life interrupted. I move through the rooms like a ghost, touching nothing, until I reach the bedroom. Our bedroom. Chandler's things are gone. Not just the overnight essentials, everything. The closet half empty, his dresser drawers bare. He didn't just leave. He moved out while I was unconscious. I sink onto the bed, our bed, and finally let the tears come. Not delicate, cinematic tears, but ugly, heaving sobs that make my broken ribs scream in protest. I cry until my throat is raw and my eyes burn, until there's nothing left but a hollow ache. Then I notice it, the corner of a shoebox peeking out from under the bed. I reach for it, wincing at the pain in my side. It's one of those decorative boxes people use for keepsakes, covered in faded floral paper. I've never seen it before. Inside are letters. Dozens of them, handwritten on expensive stationery, addressed to Peyton from Chandler. I pick one at random, dated 6 months ago, 3 months before he proposed to me. "My dearest P, another night pretending. I'm getting better at it, but the guilt eats at me. S suspects nothing. Why would she? She trusts completely, which makes this both easier and infinitely harder. Sometimes I think we should just tell her, rip the bandage off. But then I remember what's at stake. We've come too far to risk everything now. Just a little longer, my love. Once the merger is complete and her mother signs the final papers, we'll have everything we've worked for. Until then, these stolen moments will have to sustain us. Last night was worth all the deception. You are worth everything. Forever yours, C." The merger? My mother's company. Chandler works for a rival firm that's been trying to acquire it for years. A hostile takeover that my mother has been fighting tooth and nail. My phone rings, startling me. Simon from work. I almost ignore it, but something makes me answer. "Scarlett, thank God. I've been trying to reach you. I just got home from the hospital. I know I visited, but you were still unconscious. Listen, I need to tell you something, and you're not going to like it." My fingers tighten around the letter. "About Chandler and Peyton? You know? I know they're engaged. I know he moved out while I was in the hospital. I know they've been together for months behind my back." "It's worse than that," Simon says, his voice dropping. "The accident, I don't think it was an accident." The room seems to tilt. What are you talking about? Your brake lines were tampered with. I have a friend in the police department who examined your car. They're keeping it quiet while they investigate, but are you saying someone tried to kill me? The words feel absurd leaving my mouth. I'm saying be careful who you trust. Someone wanted you out of the picture, and they nearly succeeded. I look down at the letter in my hand. We've come too far to risk everything now. Scarlett, are you still there? I need to go, I whisper, hanging up before he can respond. I spread the letters across the bed, arranging them by date. A timeline of betrayal stretching back over a year. Not just an affair, a conspiracy. My fiancé and best friend plotting against me, against my mother, against our company. And now possibly attempted murder. I gather the letters carefully, placing them back in the box. My hands have stopped shaking. The pain in my ribs feels distant, irrelevant. In its place is something new, something cold and clear and focused. They wanted me gone. Instead, they've created something far more dangerous. A woman with nothing left to lose. I don't sleep. Instead, I spread the letters across my dining table, arranging them chronologically like evidence at a crime scene, which apparently it is. My fingers trace the handwriting I once found romantic. The way Chandler loops his Ys, the slight slant to his Ts. Now each curve feels like a weapon. By morning, I have a plan. Not a good one, maybe, but a starting point. I shower carefully, wincing as water hits my stitches. The mirror reveals a stranger. Pale skin, dark circles under bloodshot eyes, an angry red line across my forehead that the doctor promised wouldn't scar much. I almost laugh, as if that's what I'm worried about now. I dress with purpose. A loose blouse that hides my bandaged ribs, minimal makeup that covers the worst of my bruising. I need to look put together, but not threatening. Vulnerable enough to lower defenses. My mother answers her door on the third knock, surprise flashing across her face. Scarlett, I was just about to call you. Should you be driving already? We need to talk, I say, walking past her into the house I grew up in. The familiar smell of coffee and her signature perfume makes my throat tighten unexpectedly. She follows me to the kitchen, hovering as I sit at the island counter. Can I get you anything? Tea? I made muffins this morning. Information, I say flatly. That's all I want. Her shoulders drop slightly. She pours herself coffee, avoiding my eyes. What kind of information? I slide one of Chandler's letters across the counter. Let's start with the merger he mentions, the one you're fighting, the one he's apparently using me to facilitate. She picks up the letter, skimming it, her expression carefully neutral. Too neutral. Where did you find this? Under my bed. There are dozens more, dating back over a year. I lean forward, ignoring the pain in my ribs. Did you know? About them? She sets the letter down, smoothing it with trembling fingers. I suspected. Recently. But I had no proof, and I didn't want to hurt you with suspicions. Bullshit. The word hangs between us. You've never held back an opinion in your life, especially when it comes to my choices. You hated every boyfriend I've ever had, except Chandler. Him, you welcomed with open arms. That's not fair. You know what's not fair? Finding out my fiancé and best friend are engaged while I'm in a hospital bed. Finding out someone tampered with my car. Finding out my own mother might be complicit in all of it. Her coffee cup clatters against the counter. What are you talking about? Tampered with your car? Either she's genuinely shocked, or she's a better actress than I've given her credit for. I watch her face carefully. The police are investigating it as attempted murder, I say, not mentioning that this information comes secondhand from Simon. Interesting timing, don't you think? Right when Chandler and Peyton decide to go public with their relationship. Scarlett, you can't possibly think I had anything to do with... I don't know what to think anymore. My voice cracks, betraying the composure I'm trying so hard to maintain. Everyone I trusted has been lying to me. Why should you be any different? She comes around the counter then, reaching for me. I flinch away. I would never hurt you, she says, her eyes filling with tears. You're my daughter, my only child. Then tell me the truth, all of it. What's this merger really about? Why is Chandler so invested in it? And why did you push me toward him when you've hated every other man I've dated? She sinks onto the stool beside me, suddenly looking older than her 58 years. The merger... It's complicated. Peter's publishing is struggling, has been for years. Your father left us in debt when he died, and I've been fighting to keep us afloat ever since. And Low Media wants to buy us out, I finish. My mother nods. They've been circling for years, but the company bylaws require family approval for any sale. Since your father died, that means both of us would need to sign off. The pieces click into place. So Chandler gets close to me, convinces me to support the merger. And they get the company for pennies on the dollar, my mother confirms. I didn't realize at first. By the time I suspected his motives, you were already in love with him. I thought maybe I was being paranoid. But you weren't. I pull out another letter, this one mentioning the old bat, who needs to see reason. He played us both. My mother reaches for my hand, and this time I let her take it. I'm so sorry, Scarlett. I should have trusted my instincts. I should have protected you better. For a moment, we sit in silence, united in our betrayal. Then a thought occurs to me. Mom, the accident happened the night I told Chandler I wanted to take a more active role in the company. I said I'd been thinking about it for a while, and with the wedding coming up, it seemed like the right time to get involved in the family business. Her face pales. You never told me that. I wanted to surprise you. I laugh bitterly. Guess I surprised Chandler instead. My phone buzzes with a text. Peyton. Heard you're out of the hospital. Can we talk, please? I stare at the message, a cold clarity washing over me. They think I don't know about the letters, about the merger, about any of it. My mother's eyes meet mine, a familiar determination hardening her features. What are you thinking? I stand, gathering the letters. I'm thinking it's time to play their game. But first, I need to understand all the rules. As I head for the door, my mother calls after me. Scarlett, be careful. If they tried once, I turn back, a smile I don't feel fixed on my face. Don't worry, Mom. I'm not the same person they tried to kill. That Scarlett died in the crash. I text Peyton back as I walk to my car. Of course, I've missed you. Coffee tomorrow? Let the performance begin. I arrive at the cafe 20 minutes early, choosing a corner table with my back to the wall. Strategic positioning, something I never would have thought about before. I order a black coffee I don't want and rehearse my lines in my head. Confused, hurt, slightly dazed from medication. A woman who doesn't yet know she's been betrayed. When Peyton walks in, my heart lurches painfully. She looks exactly the same. Honey blonde hair falling in perfect waves, designer sunglasses perched on her head, that confident stride that always made me feel slightly inadequate beside her. The only new addition is the diamond on her left hand, catching the light as she waves to me. My engagement ring sits heavy in my pocket. I'd removed it this morning but couldn't bear to leave it behind. Stupid sentimentality. Scarlett! She rushes over, arms outstretched, face a mask of concern. Oh my God, look at you. I let her hug me, fighting the urge to push her away. Her familiar perfume, the one I helped her pick out for her birthday last year, makes my stomach turn. Careful, I wince, gesturing to my ribs. Still pretty banged up. I'm so sorry. She slides into the seat across from me, reaching for my hands. I let her take them, focusing on keeping my expression neutral. We were so worried. I wanted to visit, but you were busy getting engaged to my fiancé? The words slip out before I can stop them, sharper than I intended. Her face falls, genuine shock replacing the practiced concern. You know? I pull my hands back slowly. Instagram. Not exactly how I expected to find out, but then again, I didn't expect to find out at all. Scar, I can explain. Can you? I keep my voice low, controlled, because I'm struggling to understand how my best friend and the man I was supposed to marry in 3 months ended up engaged to each other while I was unconscious in a hospital bed. Her eyes fill with tears. Good actress. Always has been. It wasn't supposed to happen like this, she whispers. We were going to tell you, I swear. But then the accident happened and everything got so complicated. How long? I ask, though I already know the answer from the letters. She hesitates, looking down at her ring. A year, a little more. A year. I let the betrayal color my voice. This part requires no acting. So, when you helped me pick out my wedding dress, when you threw my bridal shower, when you held my hair back after I got food poisoning on my bachelorette weekend, all that time you were sleeping with Chandler? It wasn't just sleeping together. she says, a flash of defensiveness crossing her face. We fell in love, Scarlett. We tried to fight it, but spare me the star-crossed lover's routine. I take a sip of my coffee, buying time to collect myself. Did you know? Know what? About my car, that someone tampered with the brakes. Her face pales so dramatically, I almost believe her shock. What are you talking about? It was an accident. The roads were wet. You took that curve too fast. The police are investigating it as attempted murder. I lie, watching her reaction carefully. That's insane, she whispers, but her eyes dart away. Who would want to hurt you? I don't know, Peyton. Who would benefit from me being out of the picture? I lean forward. Maybe someone who wanted my fiancé, or someone who needed my shares in Peter's publishing. Her eyes snap back to mine, widening slightly. What does the company have to do with anything? Interesting. Either she's an Oscar-worthy actress, or she doesn't know about Chandler's true motives. I decide to push further. Nothing. Forget I mentioned it. I rub my temples, feigning confusion. The medication makes me foggy sometimes. The doctor said that's normal after a head injury. Her posture relaxes slightly. You should be resting, not sitting in cafes having difficult conversations. Probably. I force a sad smile. I just needed to see you, to understand. I never meant to hurt you, she says, reaching for my hand again. I let her take it. Chandler and I, it just happened, and once it started, we couldn't stop. I know that's no excuse. Does he make you happy? I ask, injecting vulnerability into my voice. Yes, she whispers, guilt and joy warring on her face. He does. Then I guess I have to find a way to accept that. I squeeze her hand, the lie bitter on my tongue. It'll take time, but you're my oldest friend. I don't want to lose you too. Relief floods her features. Really? You mean that? Life's too short for grudges. The accident taught me that much. I release her hand and stand carefully. I should go, still getting tired easily. Of course. She stands too, hesitant. Can I call you? Maybe in a few days? Sure. I force one last smile. And Peyton, congratulations. I hope he makes you as happy as I thought he would make me. The flash of guilt on her face is worth the pain of saying those words. Outside, I lean against the building, breathing deeply until the nausea passes. My phone buzzes, a text from an unknown number. We need to talk, not over the phone. The boathouse at Westlake Park. 7 p.m. Come alone. Ernest. Ernest. The name from Chandler's past that Simon mentioned. The final piece of the puzzle I've been missing. As I walk to my car, a black sedan pulls away from the curb across the street, following at a careful distance. Someone's watching me. Good. Let them watch. They have no idea what's coming. Westlake Park at dusk feels like walking into a trap. The fading light casts long shadows across the water, and the evening joggers are thinning out. I park in a well-lit area, leaving my keys in my shoe. A trick I learned from a self-defense class I took years ago and never thought I'd need. The boathouse sits at the edge of the lake, weathered wood turned golden in the sunset. I approach cautiously, scanning for the black sedan I'd spotted earlier. Nothing obvious, but that doesn't mean I'm not being watched. A figure emerges from inside the boathouse. Tall, broad-shouldered, with close-cropped salt and pepper hair. He wears an expensive suit like armor, but his eyes look tired, wary. Scarlett, he says, voice deeper than I expected. Thank you for coming. Ernest, I presume? I remain standing at a safe distance. You have information for me? He gestures to a bench overlooking the water. Please, I'm not here to hurt you. Forgive me if I don't take your word for it. Someone tried to kill me last week. Not me. He sits, leaving space for me. If anything, I'm trying to prevent it from happening again. Curiosity wins over caution. I sit, maintaining distance between us. You know Chandler, I say. Not a question. Better than most. Ernest's jaw tightens. We were business partners, before he destroyed my company and stole my client list. Let me guess. He seduced your wife too? A bitter laugh escapes him. Fiancé, actually. History repeats itself, it seems. Why are you telling me this now? Because I recognized your name from the accident report. When I realized who you were to Chandler, He shakes his head. I've been tracking him for 2 years, gathering evidence. I'm close to having enough to take him down legally, but he's getting desperate, dangerous. The merger, I say. Peter's publishing. Ernest nods. It's not just about acquiring a company. Your family's publishing house owns valuable real estate in 3 major cities. The intellectual property rights alone are worth millions, but the real prize is the land. My mind races. The downtown headquarters. Mom mentioned developers had been making offers. Exactly. Chandler's working for people who want to tear it down, build luxury condos. They stand to make a fortune, but only if they can get control of the company. And they need my signature. Yours or your death certificate, Ernest says bluntly. Either works for their purposes. A chill runs through me despite the warm evening. You think Chandler tried to kill me? I think someone did. Whether Chandler ordered it or just benefited from it. He shrugs. The result is the same. I stare out at the lake, processing. Why should I trust you? This could be another manipulation. Ernest reaches into his jacket, pulls out a flash drive. Everything I've gathered on Chandler and his associates. Financial records, emails, recorded conversations, including some about you. I take it, our fingers briefly touching. What do you want in return? Help me finish what I started. I can provide the evidence, but I need someone on the inside, someone they don't suspect. They think I'm clueless, I say slowly. Injured, emotional, harmless. Exactly. His eyes meet mine, intense. Play that role a little longer. Get close to Chandler again. Act like you're willing to sign over your shares to keep the peace. And then what? Then we spring the trap, all at once. The police, the SEC, the press. I turn the flash drive over in my hands, weighing more than just the small piece of plastic. I'll think about it. Don't think too long. The merger vote is in 3 weeks. As if summoned by our conversation, my phone buzzes with a text from Chandler. We need to talk. Dinner tomorrow? The grill at 8. I show Ernest the message. Looks like my opportunity just arrived. Be careful, he warns. Chandler's charming when he needs to be. That's what makes him dangerous. I know his charm better than anyone. I stand, pocketing the flash drive. I fell for it once. I won't make that mistake again. As I turn to leave, Ernest catches my wrist. His touch is gentle but firm. There's something else you should know. About your friend Peyton. My heart stutters. What about her? She's not as willing a participant as she seems. Chandler has something on her. Something she's desperate to keep hidden. What? I don't know the details, but I've seen her leaving his apartment in tears more than once. Whatever hold he has, it's powerful. I pull my arm free, suddenly needing space. That doesn't excuse what she did. No, he agrees, but it might explain it. I walk away, mind churning. The idea that Peyton might be a victim too complicates everything. The clean lines of betrayal and revenge blur, leaving me unsure where to direct my anger. Back in my car, I text Chandler, "Dinner sounds good, I've missed you." The lie feels like acid on my tongue, but I press send anyway. Then I start the engine and pull out of the parking lot, checking my rearview mirror obsessively. The black sedan is back, 3 cars behind me. I make a sudden right turn. It follows. My phone rings. Simon. Where are you? He asks without preamble. Being followed. Black sedan, tinted windows. Get to a public place, now. I just got word from my contact at the police department. They found fingerprints on your brake line that don't match yours or the mechanic's. Whose are they? They don't know yet. But whoever it is, they're escalating. Natalia from your office was just brought in for questioning. Someone broke into her apartment, left a threatening note about keeping quiet. Natalia, my colleague who's always been coldly professional but never friendly. What could she possibly know? I need to see her, I say, making a U-turn toward the police station. Scarlett, listen to me. This is bigger than you realize. Be careful who you trust. I glance at the flash drive on my passenger seat. I'm not trusting anyone, not anymore. The police station buzzes with fluorescent-lit activity. Officers moving with purpose while civilians wait in plastic chairs, faces drawn with whatever crisis brought them here. I approach the front desk, hyper-aware of how I must look, still bruised, slightly hunched from my healing ribs. I'm here to see Natalia, I tell the officer. I work with her. He eyes me skeptically. She's giving a statement, not allowed visitors. Could you at least tell her Scarlett is here? It's important. He sighs but picks up the phone. A brief conversation, then, wait over there. Detective Morris will speak with you. I sit, watching the door Natalia would eventually emerge from. What could she possibly know that would make her a target? We've worked together for 3 years, but I wouldn't call us friends. She's always been reserved, professional to the point of coldness. Ms. Reynolds? I look up to see a woman in her 40s, dark hair pulled back in a severe ponytail, tired eyes that miss nothing. Detective Morris, she says, extending her hand. You're here about Natalia? Yes, we work together. I heard someone threatened her. And you thought that might be connected to your accident? Her gaze is penetrating. I hesitate. Is it? Let's talk somewhere private. She leads me to a small interview room. Bare walls, metal table, uncomfortable chairs. Nothing like the cozy spaces on TV shows. Your brake lines were deliberately cut, she says without preamble. We're treating your accident as attempted murder. Despite already knowing this, hearing it officially makes my stomach drop. Do you know who did it? We have fingerprints that don't match any in our system. Yet. She studies me. But that's not why you're here, is it? I want to know why someone threatened Natalia. Ms. Reynolds, Scarlett, I think you already have theories about who might want to harm you. And why. I meet her gaze steadily. My fiancé is engaged to my best friend. They announced it while I was unconscious, and they both stand to benefit financially from my death. How so? My family's company. They need my signature for a merger, or I trail off. Or your death would transfer your voting rights, she finishes. We're aware of the financial angle. What you might not know is that Natalia received threatening notes after she accessed certain files at your company. What files? Financial records. Specifically, unusual payments authorized by Chandler Lowe to offshore accounts, payments that coincided with your accident. My mind races. Natalia was investigating Chandler? Why? That's what we're trying to determine. Detective Morris leans forward. Ms. Reynolds, I need to ask you something difficult. Is there any chance your mother could be involved in this? The question hits like a physical blow. What? No, absolutely not. Are you certain? Because the payments were co-signed by Alina Peters. The room seems to tilt. My mother's signature on payments linked to my accident? It can't be. There must be some mistake, I insist. My mother would never. The door opens, and Natalia walks in. She looks exhausted, her usually perfect appearance disheveled, dark circles under her eyes. Scarlett. She stops short, surprised. What are you doing here? I heard what happened. I wanted to make sure you're okay. Her eyes flick to Detective Morris, who nods slightly. I'm fine, Natalia says, but her voice lacks conviction. Just a break-in, and a note threatening to finish what was started if you didn't stay out of matters that don't concern you. Detective Morris adds. Natalia sinks into a chair. I was just doing my job. The numbers didn't add up, so I flagged them. What numbers? I press. Consulting fees, large ones to a company that doesn't exist. She looks at me directly. Authorized by Chandler and your mother. That's impossible, I say automatically, but doubt creeps in. My mother's strange behavior, her evasiveness about the merger. I thought so too, Natalia says, until I found emails. Your mother objecting to the payments, saying she never approved them. Then suddenly she stops objecting, right after you got engaged. The implication hangs in the air. Blackmail, coercion. I need to see those emails, I say. They've been deleted from the server, Natalia replies, but I kept copies. That's what they were looking for in my apartment. Detective Morris interjects. We're arranging protection for Natalia. You should consider the same. I have a dinner with Chandler tomorrow night, I say. He wants to talk. Cancel it, Morris says sharply. No. I straighten, ignoring the pain in my ribs. This is my chance to get answers, to get proof. It's too dangerous, Natalia argues. Scarlett, these people tried to kill you once already. And they failed. I turn to Detective Morris. Wire me. Record the conversation. Get your proof that way. She considers this. It's risky. So is letting them try again with better planning. After a long moment, she nods. We'll need to prep you, teach you what to ask, how to respond. As we finalize details, my phone buzzes with a text from Peyton. We need to talk. Alone. It's about Chandler. Please, Scar, I'm scared. I show the message to Detective Morris, who frowns. Could be genuine, could be a trap. Only one way to find out. I text back, my place. 1 hour. As I leave the station, Natalia catches up to me in the parking lot. There's something else you should know, she says quietly. Something I didn't tell the police. What? Ernest Steele has been in contact with your mother for months. Secret meetings, encrypted emails. She hesitates. I think they're working together. The ground shifts beneath me again. Ernest, who just recruited me to his cause. My mother, who might be involved in my accident. Peyton claiming to be scared of Chandler. Everyone playing angles I can't see. Thank you, I tell Natalia, for risking everything to tell me the truth. Be careful, she warns. Trust no one, not even me. I drive home in a daze, wondering who will be waiting for me there, the friend who betrayed me or another victim caught in Chandler's web. Either way, I'm done being a pawn in someone else's game. The restaurant gleams with polished surfaces and soft lighting, designed to make everyone look their best. I chose this place deliberately. Public enough for safety, expensive enough that Chandler wouldn't cause a scene. The wire taped between my shoulder blades itches, but I resist the urge to adjust it. Detective Morris's words echo in my head. Get him talking about the merger, about the payments. Don't accuse directly, lead him there. I spot Chandler at our table, looking exactly as he did when I fell in love with him. Confident smile, perfectly tailored suit, that little crinkle around his eyes when he sees me. For a split second, my resolve wavers. Then I remember the letters, the break lines, Peyton's tearful confession last night. You're alive because you got lucky, she'd told me, shaking. The brakes were supposed to fail on the highway, not on that little side road. He was so angry when you survived. I approach the table, summoning a smile that doesn't reach my eyes. Chandler stands, hesitating before leaning in to kiss my cheek. You look beautiful, he says. How are you feeling? Better every day. I sit, placing my purse carefully on the table, angled toward him. Inside, a second recording device, my insurance policy. Though finding out about you and Peyton was unexpected, he has the decency to look uncomfortable. Scarlett, I'm so sorry. We never meant for you to find out that way. How exactly did you mean for me to find out? After the wedding? On our honeymoon? It just happened, he says, the same words Peyton used. We fought it for so long, but a year isn't that long, Chandler. I keep my voice steady, not when measured against the 3 years we were together. Surprise flickers across his face. Peyton told you. She told me a lot of things. I take a sip of water, including how frightened she is of you. His expression hardens for just a moment before smoothing into concern. She's confused, emotional, the stress of everything. The stress of knowing you tried to kill me. The words hang between us. Chandler's face goes completely still, a stillness I recognize from board meetings when he's calculating his next move. That's absurd, he finally says. It was an accident. The police found evidence of tampering, I interrupt, and suspicious payments from company accounts right before it happened, payments you authorized with my mother's forged signature. His eyes narrow slightly. Who's been feeding you these stories? Ernest? Your mother? They're manipulating you, Scarlett. Like you manipulated me? Using me to get to my family's company? Is that what this is about? He leans forward, voice softening. The merger? Scarlett, that deal benefits everyone. Your mother's been running that company into the ground for years. The merger saves it. By selling off the real estate and firing half the staff? By modernizing an outdated business model. He reaches for my hand. I let him take it, fighting the urge to pull away. I never lied about wanting what's best for you, for your family. Just not with me, I say quietly. Not when Peyton was an option. Something flickers in his eyes. Not guilt, but calculation. I made a mistake. I hurt you, and I'm sorry for that. but don't throw away everything your family built because you're angry with me. What about the payments, Chandler? The ones to offshore accounts right before my accident. Consulting fees, he says smoothly, for the merger. Everything was approved through proper channels. By my mother, who claims she never signed off on them. His jaw tightens. Alina's memory isn't what it used to be. She signed the authorizations. I watched her do it. And Ernest Steele, what's his role in all this? Chandler's hand tightens painfully around mine. Stay away from Ernest. He's dangerous, obsessed. He blames me for his company's failure, but he destroyed himself. By sleeping with his fiancé? Oh, wait, that was you. He releases my hand abruptly. You don't know what you're talking about. I know enough. I reach into my purse, removing the stack of letters I found under our bed. I know you've been planning this for over a year. I know you needed my signature, or my death, to complete the merger. I know you threatened Natalia when she discovered the unauthorized payments. The color drains from his face as he recognizes the letters. Where did you get those? From our bedroom. You weren't as careful as you thought. I spread them on the table between us. It's over, Chandler. The police have copies. The board has copies. Everyone knows what you tried to do. His expression darkens, voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. You have no idea what you've done. I've protected what's mine. I stand, gathering the letters. The merger vote is canceled. The board called an emergency meeting this morning after receiving evidence of your financial misconduct. You're finished at low media. He grabs my wrist, hard enough to bruise. Sit down, we're not done. Yes, we are. I pull free, heart pounding. And Chandler? Peyton won't be waiting for you at home. She's giving her statement to the police right now. The mask slips completely, revealing the cold fury beneath. You stupid bitch. You think this is over? You think you've won? He stands looming over me. I made you. I can destroy you just as easily. You already tried. I step back, aware of other diners watching now. And I'm still here. His hand moves toward his jacket pocket. I tense, remembering Peyton's warning. He carries a gun sometimes, small one. But before he can reach it, two plainclothes officers appear beside our table. Chandler Lowe? One shows his badge. We need you to come with us. As they lead him away, he looks back at me, his handsome face twisted with hatred. This isn't over, he calls. Ask your mother about Ernest. Ask her what they've been hiding. I remain standing until he's gone, legs trembling with adrenaline. Only then do I sink back into my chair, fingers pressed against the wire beneath my blouse. Did you get all that? I whisper. Detective Morris's voice comes through my earpiece. Every word. You did good, Scarlett, but be careful. If he's telling the truth about your mother and Ernest... I gather my things, leaving cash for a meal we never ate. I know, I'm heading there now. Outside, rain has started to fall, washing the streets clean, fitting somehow. I look up at the sky, letting droplets hit my face, and for the first time since waking in that hospital bed, I take a full, deep breath. One confrontation down. One more to go. My mother's house glows warm against the darkening sky. Through the window, I see her silhouette moving about the kitchen, unaware that her world is about to change. Again. I sit in my car, rain drumming on the roof, gathering courage. The wire is gone, but I've kept the recording device from my purse. Trust no one, Natalia had said. Not even me. When I finally approach the door, I don't knock. My key still works, and I slip inside quietly. Mom? I call out. She appears in the hallway, wiping her hands on a dish towel. Scarlett, I wasn't expecting you. Her eyes search my face. What happened? You look like I just had my ex-fiancé arrested? I finish for her. Because I did. Her face pales. What are you talking about? The police have Chandler in custody for attempted murder, fraud, blackmail. Take your pick. I move past her into the kitchen, where 2 wine glasses sit on the counter. Are you expecting company? She follows me, anxiety radiating from her. Scarlett, whatever Chandler told you, he didn't have to tell me anything. The letters did that. The financial records, Peyton's confession. I turn to face her. The only person who hasn't been honest with me is you. I was protecting you, she insists, by working with Ernest behind my back, by meeting him secretly for months. Her eyes widen. How did you? Natalia found the emails, the ones you tried to delete. I lean against the counter. So, which version is true, Mom? Were you Chandler's victim or his accomplice? The doorbell rings, startling us both. My mother glances toward the front door, then back at me. That's Ernest, she says quietly. I think it's time you heard the whole story. From both of us. I follow her to the door, watching as she lets Ernest in. He looks surprised to see me. Scarlett, I didn't expect. Save it, I interrupt. I know you two have been working together. What I don't know is why or which side you're actually on. My mother leads us to the living room. Sit down, please, both of you. We sit, an awkward triangle of distrust. Ernest and my mother exchange a look that speaks of shared secrets. Ernest came to me 6 months ago, my mother begins, with evidence that Chandler was planning to use you to gain control of the company. I'd been tracking him since he destroyed my business, Ernest adds. I knew his pattern. Find someone vulnerable, someone with something he wants, and exploit them. So you decided to exploit me instead? I ask bitterly. Use me as bait? No, my mother says firmly. We were trying to gather enough evidence to stop him legally, without involving you, to protect you. By keeping me in the dark, by letting me continue planning a wedding to a man who was sleeping with my best friend. We didn't know about Peyton until recently, Ernest says. That complicated things. And the accident? I press. Did you know he was planning that too? My mother's eyes fill with tears. No. God, no. When I got that call. Her voice breaks. I thought I'd lost you, and I knew then that we'd waited too long. The payments, I say. The ones with your forged signature. Not forged, she admits. I authorized them. Small ones at first, to track where the money was going. It led us to offshore accounts connected to some very dangerous people who wanted our real estate. The consulting firm was a front, Ernest explains, for a development company with ties to organized crime. They've been trying to get that downtown property for years. I absorb this, pieces clicking into place. So you were playing Chandler while he thought he was playing you. My mother nods. Until the accident. Then everything accelerated. Why didn't you tell me? After I woke up, when I found the letters. Why keep lying? Because we didn't know who we could trust, Ernest says. Someone inside the company was feeding Chandler information. We couldn't risk it. Natalia, I say, understanding dawning. You suspected Natalia. Until she came to me with the financial discrepancies, my mother confirms. Then we knew she was on our side. So the break-in at her apartment? Real, Ernest says grimly. Chandler was getting desperate. I stand, needing to move, to process. All this time, you've been 10 steps ahead, playing some elaborate chess game with my life as collateral. Not collateral, my mother says, rising to face me. The queen, the most powerful piece on the board, the one we were trying to protect. By keeping me powerless, by denying me the chance to fight my own battles, you're right, she admits. We underestimated you. I underestimated you. And I'm sorry. The sincerity in her voice reaches something in me. I needed to do this myself, to face him, to take back what he stole from me. And you did, Ernest says, respect evident in his tone. You got him to confess on tape. You brought him down. We all did, I correct him, each playing our parts. My mother reaches for my hand. After a moment's hesitation, I let her take it. What happens now? I ask. Now, she says, we rebuild. The company, our relationship, your life. My life, I repeat, tasting the words. My life on my terms. I move to the window, watching rain streak the glass. Behind me, my mother and Ernest wait, allowing me this moment of decision. The woman who stands here now is not the same one who woke in that hospital bed. That Scarlett trusted blindly, loved completely, gave herself away piece by piece. This Scarlett knows better. I turn back to them. I want a seat on the board. Real power, not just a title. And complete transparency from now on, both of you. They exchange glances, then nod. And Peyton? My mother asks carefully. I think of my former friend, how fear and weakness led her to betray me, how she finally found the courage to tell the truth. That's a different conversation for a different day, I say. Some bridges can be rebuilt. Others need to burn completely before something new can rise. I look between them. My mother, who tried to protect me in all the wrong ways, and Ernest, whose quest for justice aligned with mine by chance or fate. Not friends, exactly. Not yet. But allies, at least. No more secrets, I say, making it a command, not a request. No more games. Outside, the rain begins to ease, clouds parting to reveal a sliver of moon. Not a fresh start, I'm too wise for that now, but a continuation. My story, reclaimed. The woman who survived isn't the same one they tried to destroy. She's something altogether more dangerous. A woman who knows her own power,